Hello all, welcome to today's session. So today we'll be looking at a couple of things. Firstly, about the console. I mean the console, the inspector, and the developer tools. Okay, and after that, we'll also be looking at the folder structure of an example website, which we'll be using in a further session. Okay, so let's get started. I've actually opened a web page at my end. It is
Speech mode. No, this meeting is home dash coffee at home banner left.
yeah. So it is a small website. So we have a heading at the very beginning. Then in the right hand side, we have the navigation landmark. Then in the middle, in the main content, we have a heading and a quotation, and then we have the footer section. So let's first look at inspecting. So we have this heading over here. Welcome to Coffee and Books, right? So inspecting is basically by using inspector and by inspecting an element, we can actually get the source code of that respected or that particular element. For example,
Heading level. Main landmark. Welcome to Coffee and Books. Heading level 2.
if I right click on it,
E.
okay, then okay. So if you are a keyboard only users or a screen reader user, then you can inspect an element by focusing an element and then doing this right click or shift F10 or an application key. And in case if that is not an interactive element, interactive control, and it's an static element, then you can navigate to that static element in the browse mode. Then you can, in the numpad area of your keyboard, you can press insert / 3 times.
Well,
and then do a right click.
Right menu selected submenu.
When you do a right click, you'll be presented with a couple of options. You need to activate inspect.
Inspect 10, 12, and 12. Home dash coffee and books document. Head alert them tools is not
When you click on inspect a developer tool or Chrome developer tools basically, which will open at the right hand side. Okay, so basically it is a panel, it's a small panel, not a small panel, but it's a panel which I have opened at the right hand side of my screen. And at the very top of the panel, there are a couple of tabs, okay, namely console, elements, sources, so on and so forth. So currently elements tab is selected, and now in the tab content, there is a tree view which contains the entire code. For example, if I do insert tab and check my focus,
less h2 id equals quote heading quote class equals quote class 1 class 2 quote grader less / h2 grader tree view item focused selected expand level 5 quote welcome to quote 1 and 4.
So my focus was on that less to h2 element, which was actually the source code of this particular element, this particular heading.
Level 4 less h2.
So this is how you can inspect, okay? And there are a couple of things. So since it is a tree view, so you can navigate that entire tree view using arrow keys. If you want to go to the next or the previous element sibling, to check the previous element sibling of this particular element, you can press up arrow to check the next. You can press down arrow to get to the parent element of this particular element. You can press left arrow to expand a given node. You can press right arrow, and then to get inside the children, of that particular element, you can also use right arrow. So these were the couple of keyboard commands. And you can also open this inspector by using F12 key of your keyboard or Control Shift I. So proceeding forward, there are a couple of more actions you can perform on a node. Okay. For example, if you focus a node,
level 5 quote well level 5.
And then do a shift F10 or an application key, basically the right click.
Menu selected submenu.
Then you will get presented with a couple of options. The first option is add attribute.
Add attribute 1 of 17.
So by using this option, you can actually add an attribute of your choice to an HTML element or to an HTML node. Okay. So for example, you can add a class, you can add an ID, you can add a role or any other attribute. Okay. But one thing which you need to keep in mind is if you add an attribute and do a page refresh, then the changes which you have made will disappear. Okay, so this is one. Then we do have other options such as edit as HTML. So by using this, you can edit the HTML code, and there are a couple of more options. One more option which is very important as a developer is
duplicate, delete, cut, copy submenu.
Inside this copy submenu. If you expand it,
Copy element.
You will get a couple of options, amongst which this copy selector and copy JavaScript path, JS path, are a bit important ones.
Copy outer H, copy selector 3 on 7.
This one and
copy JS path 4 on 7.
This one. So basically, when you do this copy selector, at that moment, the Chrome or whichever browser you're using, you are using, will calculate the CSS selector of the element on which you have done the right click. It will copy, it will just calculate the relationship and construct a CSS selector of that particular element, and then it will get copied in your clipboard. Same goes with this copy JS path as well. The difference is just that it will return a copy JavaScript path, which means that the thing which will be copied in your clipboard is document.query selector, then within parentheses, within quotation, the CSS selector, which was supposed to be copied by selecting copy selector. Okay, so this was a couple of things regarding this inspector or elements panel. I'll just close this.
Copy sub. Dev tools.
Now coming to the next part, which is console tab. Okay, so if you activate that tab,
main tab selected elements, tab console. Console tab, console.
Yeah, I have activated the tab, and now in the tab content, okay, so there is an input field which you can use to type in or test any JavaScript code. For example, if I type any kind of JavaScript code in it and then execute it by pressing enter key, at that moment that particular JavaScript code will get executed. Let's try it out.
A-R-T alert left A-I-I quote right.
So I've written a simple JavaScript line of code which is alert, and then within parentheses, within quotation, hi, and then a semicolon. If I hit enter,
this page says dialog HI OK button 1 of 1.
That JavaScript code got executed. So this is how we can use this the JavaScript console, okay, to test some sort of JavaScript code, lines of code, or just to test for testing purposes. Basically, we can try some JavaScript code and see whether the things are working or not. So it does applies the same rule applies with this also. Once you do a page refresh, all the changes will disappear. The page will return back to the state in which it was previously. Okay, so this was about the console. Now, another thing which I would like to highlight is basically the NVDA speech viewer window.
Block NVDA preference tools submit helps tools speak braille viewer speech viewer S home dash coffee and book.
Okay, so this NVDA speech viewer. So I have opened this. So basically, this is a small window, okay, which shows the textual output of whatever NVDA is speaking. For example, if I do a down arrow, right?
Books along with a sip of coffee out of block quote dash team.
Then whatever the whatever the NVDA speech output is, that will get displayed in textual format in this particular window, helping people to understand what actually NVDA is speaking, right? So this is a very important part of our next sessions. So we'll be having this video across our sessions, and the positioning of this window is towards the top right side of the screen, which is overlapping with the command with the developer tools. Okay. So we actually plan to put it over here is because, if you put it towards the left side of our screen, then that will be overlapping with the content of our web page, right? And in that case, we might face difficulty in understanding and perceiving the content of our web page and understanding some sort of functionalities and so on and so forth. So for that reason, we decided to put it towards the right side of our screen because our use of this developer tool will be very limited. We'll be mostly using it for reading code. Okay, and if we want to read code, for example, if I again try to inspect it,
Welcome to the E. Right menu select N. Less H2 ID equals quote.
okay, so my focus got placed on the code. So currently that entire window is being overlapped by this NVIDIA speech viewer, but the code which we wanted to look at is getting presented or is getting displayed in this viewer as well. So for that reason, we put this towards the right side of our screen, and yeah, this will be something which we'll be using prominently in our next videos, next session. So for now, I'll close this window.
Preferences, tools, new speech viewer check test. Dev tools document.
Yeah, I've closed that window now. So the another thing which I want to highlight is the folder structure. So in our data section or in our next sessions, we'll be using an example website. So let's look at the folder structure of that website.
This meeting screen semantics column 4.
So I am in the File Explorer. We have a couple of folders. So the first folder is CSS, then we have this fixing, then HTML, JavaScript, and images. We have a couple of folders. So the CSS folder contains the CSS files, HTML folder contains HTML files, JavaScript folder contains JavaScript files, images contains images files, and fixing folder contains the files, JavaScript files, which we'll be using for fixing accessibility bugs in our example website. Okay, so let's try to navigate into it.
Fixing to items new list book registration dash form page home dash.
Okay, so one thing which I wanted to highlight is the way we have filed, renamed the files. So
folder home dash heading dash fixing .js 3 of 10.
So the current file name is home dash heading dash fixing. Right. So basically we have actually renamed this because we are including the page name in the file name, and then along with the page name, we are also including the topic which we are dealing with. For example, there is a heading related issue on the home page. So we'll be fixing that in our heading section. So for that reason, the file name is home. The issue is on home page, so it is home. And the topic is heading, so it is related to headings. So that was pretty much which I wanted to introduce you with. So I hope this was informative. Thanks for watching.